inculcated. First of all, revolutionary greetings, solidarity to all present here and Telangana State United Teachers Federation for giving me this opportunity to come here to extend solidarity on behalf of the student movement across the country that is happening. I'm currently also a student of Jawaharlal Nehru University, completing my final year of doctorate, PhD from there, and I'm hoping that I'll finish my research in next 1 year. And what I am today, because I'm extremely proud to stand here in front of thousands of teachers who are gathered here, that because I am who I am because of my teachers. I am what I am because of the education that has inculcated. Of course, organization, ideology has played a big role, but that understanding, that critical thinking was developed in the classrooms, and I am always, when I look back, I'm always thankful to those teachers, innumerable teachers who has taught us every day to think, to critically think, to scientifically think about not only self-education, but also about the society. Also, today I have been asked, a lot of speakers have already spoken. They were speaking in Telugu. I could understand some parts of it. I'm not well versed with Telugu, so I'm really sorry that I will be speaking in English. And I know that there may be a lot of things about national education policy that you are dealing with. You would have heard from other speakers. Many things that I am speaking might be repetitive, but what is very important when we are gathered here to speak about that, how in the recent days, in the recent years, the National Education Policy 2020, which has been implemented, we are seeing its impact on the public education system. A lot of you, the teachers who are here, are coming from the government sector. I'm supposing from the state government sector. A lot of us who are studying in government sectors, government public education sector. And why, when we are debating about why is it necessary for all of us to unitedly save public education, the matter is very, very clear. We are continuously seeing that public education has not only helped us understand education as a matter which can give us only degrees or certificates. Education has empowered generations to get enlightened, to not only change themselves individually, but to have an impact in the society. What has education played a role in? So many people, thousands of people joined here. Many of people were talking about Baba Sahib, Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Many of us might not know Baba Sahib Ambedkar, what of degrees Baba Sahib Ambedkar had. But what do we know Baba Sahib Ambedkar for? That the contribution through his education that he made inside this country, that empowered him to write and draft the constitution of the country, which again empowered lakhs and lakhs of people to have rights, fundamental rights inside this country. That's the power of education that we celebrate. And we are seeing that in the recent past, from a long time, post 1990s, we have been seeing that education is being treated as something which is very commodity. Education is a commodity. Education is something that we have to buy it from the market. Education is something that we need to see it from the lens that is this education good or bad education? Which school should we go? Whether that school gives us good education or bad education. Which teachers should we go in? Whether those teachers are good educators or bad educators. Which coachings should we choose? Whether that education is good coaching institute or bad coaching institute. So continuously it has been taught to us that education is something that has to be seen in a market way. It has to be seen something which will always have a thing called profit or loss in education. But education was not meant to be so. Education from a welfare state perspective was something which could be imparted, which could be freely accessible to each and every one, so they could get enlightened, not only for the perspective of job, not only to make themselves equipped, skilled for own selves, but also to ensure that that education helps thousands of people across along with them inside the society to know, to be aware, to be knowledge. Like if we go to the history, Savitribai Phule. I'm sure we all have heard about Savitribai Phule, Jyotiba Phule. Why used to Jyotiba Phule or Savitribai Phule used to think of imparting education inside the society? Not because of a degree, not that they will get doctorate degrees or they will get some job. They understood that education could uplift people from the unknowingness, from the darkness. That's why Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar also said that education is that light, that kind of light that can take you out of that darkness that we are unaware of, the things we are unaware of, and education gives us that strength to know the unknown, to know things which are very, very unknown to us, and that was the beauty of education. And how? When we became independent, how was this kind of form of education, public education, envisioned inside this country? Through the Constitution, through Right to Education Act, that when education will be imparted, it will be imparted to each and every one in a very accessible, in a very affordable way. Right to Education Act ensured that students who are going to school in a certain, at least for a certain age, till 14 years of age, they will get free education. Why did the government from a welfare state of policy decide inside a country like India, where there are more than 130 crores of people, more than 1.2 billion, 3 billion people, that education should be free till the age of 14 years? Because the government's understanding was, the society's understanding was, that if we need to uplift people from where they are, first and foremost step is to educate the masses. Unless and until we educate masses, it is not going to have any form of social mobility. We are not going to have any form of social mobility. And hence we saw that from 50s, 60s onwards, we saw more and more citizens inside this country, more and more people inside this country, whether they were from the urban sector, whether they were from the rural sector, whether they had any money inside their pocket, whether their families were coming from huge economic classes or not, we saw that everybody could get affordable and accessible education. And slowly, slowly we also saw that same kind of policies were also followed in higher education. But post-90s, what happened with the several reports at the global level, with the WTO coming into place, with the global trading happening, education became a subject, education became a commodity. Globally, it also became a commodity for the Indian government at that moment. And post that, we started seeing, post-90s, those who remember very well, they will know that post-90s, we saw suddenly the mushrooming of private schools, private colleges. And I remember in my childhood, back in when I was in my school days, we used to hear that don't go to public schools, don't go to government schools. Government schools are bad. You should go for private schools to get better education. Now, who created this in our heads, that private schools give us better education and public schools, which is government schools, don't give us better education? Whose fault it was that a government school was continuously being sidelined and told to us through a campaign that private schools are better? Because a certain, the middle class aspiration which was growing, which wanted to get education, they were continuously told that if you can afford, it's better to go for a private school and not to go to a public school. It's better to always in a private school, private education, private coachings, and not to go for a government schools. And hence, post-90s, we saw the mushrooming of private education more and more. And we saw there was a decline in the quality of public education. We saw a decline, huge decline in the enrollment ratios of students going to schools, public schools. And when we have seen this process has started post-2014 and henceforward, the privatization of education was accelerating, was increasing in a huge way. What we saw is a dichotomy created inside this country that if you need to have better education, you need to go to coaching classes. If you need to have better education, you need to access more private coachings. If you need to have better marks in competitive examination, you need to have better teachers, and that can only come through private coaching centers, only come through private tutors. Hence, it was an organized campaign inside our country, inside the society, where it was told to us continuously that government schools are not sufficient, public schools are not sufficient. Your teachers inside the public schools are not sufficient tutors. What the government failed to do in this process is to equip our government schools at par to ensure that the education that we get inside the schools are better equipped. They are as competitive or as well equipped to equip a student to ensure that even if they come out of public schools, even if they come out of government schools, they can also compete inside the market. That is where we failed. And post 2014, 2019, when the new education policy came, I was hearing to a lot of speakers, but what we are failing to see is, of course, a country like India needs a national education policy. There is no disagreement in having a national education policy. But what is the national education policy of 2020 saying? What is the national education draft which was brought in 2019 said? The national education policy of 2020 is trying to say that more of systemic conditions have to be built up where merger of schools needs to happen. I think so. It's happening in Telangana, it's happening in Andhra, in many parts. I come from Bengal. More than 8,000 schools have been merged. More than 8,000 public schools, government schools have been closed down. I'm sure in Telangana, if I've heard right, more than 4,200 government schools have been closed down. Why is this closing down of schools happening? Why is this public schools, government schools getting closed? Because that's the government trying to say us that merger of schools needs to happen because there is not enough budget. There is not enough budget that the government can spend on education system and public education. But on the other hand, what are we seeing? When public schools, government schools are closing on one hand, on the other hand, we are continuously seeing there is a huge rise, steep rise on the building infrastructure of private schools. Private players coming into this place because education is something nobody can do away with. Education is something that everybody wants. Any of you, even if you are not getting free education, you will not leave your child to not get educated, right? Am I right? Every one of you, if you need education, you might have to stop eating 2 times a meal, but you will ensure that your child at least gets educated, right? It is happening with every one of our family. And in this psychology that Indian people, the Indian population wants their children to get educated, public schools slowly was tampered down. Government schools slowly saw decline in infrastructure, and we saw suddenly there was a boom in private schools. You and I, through television channels, through media, through advertisement, through different things, was told, if you need to send your child to the best schools, you need to go to some coaching institute. If you need to get your child the best degree inside Hyderabad, you need to go to this private college. You need to go to that private college. If you want your kid to get the best engineering degree or the medical degree, you need to go to this medical college, this private college. But nobody was advertising about the government colleges, the government schools that we were having. The government also didn't find it necessary to talk about the necessity of infrastructural development, modernizing technique that schools required, technological development that schools required. And hence, this organized way of cutting down government funding in public schools resulted in mushrooming of the private schools. And 2019 draft and 2020 subsequently, the National Education Policy NEP 2020 exactly talks about 3 things. It talks firstly about the commercialization of education. How it does not directly say in the draft or in the report. If you go through the report, we all have gone through, it will not directly say that commercialization of education should happen. But this is the way commercialization of education is happening. You are closing down 8,000, 13,000, 14,000. In Maharashtra, almost 10,000 tribal schools have been closed down. You are every day closing down schools. You are saying budgets are not there. You are not releasing budgets to the state government. Centralization of education. And with all these things, we are seeing closing down of public schools. And closing down of public schools in one word means the private players get empty playground to play into the sector of education. They get empty grounds to tell you what fees they will decide, what kind of infrastructure they will have, what kind of education they will have. They're going to dictate the sector of education. That is exactly happening now. Second policy that the government at the central level has decided through the NEP 2020 is centralization of education. Why are we opposing centralization of education? For example, today I am standing here in Nalgonda. And I'm very sure in Telangana, in Andhra, or back where I come from and from Bengal, we all have students who are studying in their own mother tongues, in their vernacular languages. And India as a country is a diverse country with different languages. Every child who is growing up learning their mother tongue will have different cognitive ways of learning alphabets, learning languages, learning subjects. I don't need to tell to these teachers who are helping us learn English in our classrooms or helping us learn our vernacular languages in our classroom. So it will be different for different states. For example, recently I was talking to one of my friend, and that friend comes from Rajasthan. And many of the farming families will face the same thing. In Rajasthan, my friend comes from a farming background family. And my friend happened to share that during the board's exam of the CBSE generally happens in the month of March. And March is a cropping season in many parts of the country. So I was asking him, he was saying me that his marks percentage in 10th was very low. So when I asked him that was it low? So he told me that he had to go to the field, help his father crop, and then come back, study throughout the night, and go for the board's exam next. So the situation in a farming family is exactly different from any family which is staying in the urban center. So kids who are coming from these rural households or agricultural households have no option but to help their families, help in the agricultural field of their families, also go for education. So who is supposed to look into this space where students need extra care, extra infrastructure, needs to have a more inclusive policies so they don't drop out? Some days ago in Telangana also, they have brought this no detention policy. So we know this is happening across the country, that how dropouts inside education is increasing. And this is exactly happening because of centralization of education. We're continuously seeing the central government is trying to say us that there will be one nation, one exam. There will be one nation, one kind of entrances. Everything will be one. There will be one nation, one kind of education. But what they are not talking about is the infrastructure failures, the infrastructural gaps. And to compete with that kind of infrastructural gap, we need funds. The government needs to give a lot of funds, and that is exactly not happening. In the last 4 or 5 years of financial years, we continuously saw that there was cut in the budget. But the government does not want to talk about the budget cut that is happening every year. And with the commercialization and centralization of education, we are also seeing the continuously communalization of education. Why is it very necessary for us to talk about the communalization of education, which is happening in schools, in primary schools, in higher education schools? We are continuously seeing that schools, primary sectors of education or higher education spaces are becoming spaces where continuously teachers are being forced to celebrate certain festivals. Syllabus are getting changed. Funds are only been getting allocated for certain festivals, certain way of chapterization is happening, and in that also centralization is happening. So we are continuously seeing that NEP 2020, which was supposed to address the last 20-30 years of fallacies that is happening in education policy or the loopholes in education policy, it was supposed to recognize that how many women enrollment could have happened in the last 20 years. The new education policy has completely failed into analyzing that in the 2002-2019, how many women have got enrolled into the education sector? How many women students, girl students have come to the school? We are continuously hearing that girl students are dropping out. Post-COVID, maximum schools have seen dropout of girl students. Why? Because of societal issues. In many families, they can't afford to get their son and daughters both educated. The cost of education is rising so much that they don't want to send their daughters to schools because they feel that sending a daughter to school is waste of money. It's better to educate the son. So if they have to choose between a son and a daughter, people are choosing their son to get higher education and not their daughters. So if such societal problems are happening, if there are no better infrastructure, where there will be inclusive washroom system and other things, it is going to be very, very difficult for women students, girl students to even come and access school education. We have seen, like it's very prevalent in Bengal. After class 8th, we generally see the girl students don't go to schools. They drop out of schools after class 8th because after 8th, Many of the girls will have menstruation cycles and all because of safety issues and many things. Their mothers will advise them that they should not go, they should not access schools. And this is the responsibility of the government to understand, to frame policies to ensure that such issues should be addressed in a way, in a holistic way, so that each and every student can access education impartially. They don't have to drop out from the education sector just because there is a policy driven problem. And we all know when we talk about NEP 2020 that it is not only happening to the students, its impact is not only to the students. When we talk about NEP 2020 from our student organization, we have always said that our parents, we need to campaign among the parents, we need to campaign among the teachers, we need to campaign among the school staffs, everyone in the primary education system, everyone, because NEP is not only going to affect education only for the students. NEP is also going to affect the teachers. With school mergers happening, many of the school teachers are losing their jobs. Many of the school teachers' jobs are been getting transferred into contractual system. Many of the new positions which are lying vacant are not getting fulfilled. It's same in this state, it is happening across. We are seeing every day, we are reading newspapers, we are hearing from comrades, different states mein, that vacancy of 25,000 posts are lying in teaching posts. Somewhere in Maharashtra, somewhere in Telangana, somewhere in Andhra, school teachers' posts are not getting vacant, are not getting fulfilled. So this is a major issue. If school teachers are not going to get their jobs, if the positions are going to lay vacant, then how are we going to implement more and more better education policies or impart education? Also the new system that the NEP has started, that school complexes will be started. School complex will have some 5,000 students and 1,500 teachers. So such school mode of education that we were supposed to have, that in rural areas, in semi-urban areas, there were schools according to allocation, according to areas. Teachers used to go, Anganwadi systems were there, and in all these systems, we are also seeing the privatization of ICDS, privatization of the Anganwadi system, everything. Parallel private preschools are being opened under the NEP 2020 to ensure that the pre-primary sector of education is also destroyed. And what through student movement that in these years, from 2019 onwards, one thing collectively we have tried to talk about across in the country, that privatization of education is of course leading to fee hikes. In JNU we saw in 2019, in Pondicherry University we saw these are spaces of higher education. But every day in school education we are trying to see that school fees are increasing. And when school fees are increasing, it is becoming impossible for parents to go and make sure that education of their kids are getting fulfilled. Either they are having to take loans, either they are having to somehow manage education. Then we are seeing with the centralized examination pattern, many of you would have heard the Central University Examination Test, which is the CUET, Common University Entrance Test, which has now started. Through the CUET, we are seeing that how coaching centers are being given preferences, that you don't need to go to schools. After 9th and 10th, you can sit back at your home, pay to a school, get your admission done through a school, and you can sit in a coaching class and do your coachings. And the other thing that has seen the maximum rise post-COVID is the migration of Indian students to abroad. We are seeing continuously that when we are talking about failure of infrastructure of colleges, schools inside our country, we are continuously seeing that there is a tendency that parents are wanting to send their kids to abroad to study. So inside this country, one thing is being made clear, that education in the future will be only accessible and affordable. Good education, good quality academic education will be only accessible to the ones who have a lot of money in their pockets. Those who don't have money inside their pockets, or those who can't afford, those who don't have social capital, they should not dream about going to higher education inside this country. And that is where our fight starts. That is where the teachers' federations, student federations across inside this country, and the staff and everyone inside these school spaces, primary education, higher education, should be united. That this country envisioned that it will have a secular, democratic, progressive culture inside this country, it was only possible because education was imparted in an affordable and accessible way. What the NEP 2020 is doing the reverse of it. We are continuously hearing about institutional discriminations. We have heard about Rohit Vemula. We have heard about several other cases where institutional discriminations are happening. If government institutions are not going to be there, in private institution reservation won't be there. If in private institution reservations are not there, students coming from the marginalized community, even if they get education in public schools, they will not be able to enter the higher education. And that's why it is very, very important for us to understand the importance of public education, not only at the primary level, but also at the higher education level. It is our collective duty to ensure that we safeguard at any cost the primary education, because without saving the primary education, without saving school education, we are not going to enter higher education. And that's why the government at this moment at the center, they are very systematically commercializing education. They are very systematically doing fund cuts. That inside this country, you have crores of rupees to build statues. You have crores of rupees to invest in festivities. But when the schools and colleges and teachers are asking for their salary, the government is continuously saying that they don't have salary. So we need to collectively decide and ask this government that when this government was talking about slogans like Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, like we are the government, we will stand with everyone for everybody's development. Whose development are we talking about? Whose development is this government talking about when they are not even able to ensure that there is basic minimum midday meal available for school students? I've heard in Telangana the budget that is there for midday meals, it's 5 rupees, 8 rupees, 9 rupees. Can we imagine if we go out to buy something from the nearest market, we would not even get eggs at the cost of 9 rupees and 8 rupees. Is this a mockery happening inside this country that the government is not trying to build capable human resources. If this country wants to stand up, it needs to build up more human resources, and these human resources will be sufficient to ensure that this country goes to the first point, and no other way can help this country to go above in any form. That's why it is very, very important to safeguard primary school education. It is very, very important for us to understand that NEP 2020 is just not a document which is talking about that today Indian education will be revolutionized like the American education system or the South Korean education system. I have said this in many places, and many people dream about that, oh, the American education system would be the best, oh, the US education system would be very nice, the Indian education system needs to be at par with the US education system. No, please break your dreams. The US education system is not the best. In there, the students are having to work every day to ensure that they are able to repay loans. That's not the best education system. The best education system is where there is government spending of education. And we have seen many European countries, with the first world countries, which we talk about, the Scandinavian countries, they give free education. In Germany, students have free education, even higher education is free. So we need to talk about models of education, not the US model of education where a student who is just 13 years old has to stay without their families, go to a Starbucks, go to a Domino's, go to some KFC, work there in a McD for 8 hours, go back to their college, again study for 8 hours, come back and have no time for themselves. This is not the ideal way of education system. The ideal way of education system would be where my students inside my country will go for 6 hours of education. They will go have time to practice their extracurricular activities. They will have time to spend time with their families. They will have time to come and give back to the society. That is the idea of education that we should be imparting. We should be setting up the role of ideal education system inside this global order and not run behind capitalist countries like US and other systems which have been failing as models of education system. And that's why we take pride that as Indian students and as Indian teachers and students, it is our duty to ensure that we fight more movements to safeguard our public education. It's not our policy to run away only. It is only us. It's only the students and the teachers and the workers collectively who can safeguard, and the policy makers who can safeguard our education system. And we are very hopeful that comrade was talking about. In 2019, the BJP government brought a major fee hike, why I was talking about in 2019 in the central universities. JNU was also affected. You all might be surprised to know that the PhD fees that I currently pay in JNU is just 200 rupees. It's only possible because the teachers, students, workers have fought for it. They have dreamt for a higher education space where any student coming from any background can acquire a doctorate degree without even thinking twice that whether that institution will be accessible or not. We need to create thousands of such institutes, because many of the times when I talk to my friends, when they get through IITs, when they get through NITs, the first thing that they have in their mind is, okay, my merit is fine, my academics is fine, I can go to an IIT, but will I be able to pay the fees of IIT? Can I survive in an IIT without the scholarship? If students are having to think about whether they will be having accessible education despite having merit, that is the failure of the system, that is the failure of our infrastructure, that we are not able to ensure qualitative accessible education for our academic students who want to pursue education inside this country. That is why it is very, very important for us to safeguard public education at this time, because there are growing policies which are becoming and ensuring that education becomes something very exclusive. Education only remains for the people who are having crores of rupees. A bachelor's degree in a private institution like Ashoka in Delhi, as I said, my fee structure is 200. And if you want to study in a private institution in Delhi, it's Ashoka University or OP Jindal University, the course for bachelor's is 34 lakhs. To do a Bachelor of Arts for 3 years, now which has been 4 years undergraduate program, it's 34 lakhs. How many of us can send our kids to such an university, even if it has great academics, great professors? How many of us can? Each one of us have to take loans. Each one of us. We know the majority of the country has to take loans. But the schools are running like as if there is only Adanis and Ambanis inside our countries. As if all of us are becoming so rich, so wealthy that we can send our kids to such universities. It's not the reality. So the reality is of the people coming from the marginalized community who still don't have access to education. And that's why it is very, very important for us to safeguard public education. With this hope that how the Telangana Teachers Federation, United Teachers Federation has always worked for the last 10 years in a very organized way to safeguard and develop the schools in different parts of Telangana. The student movement here has ensured that education is accessible for all. We are sure that across the country also we will be uniting together to talk about the fallacies that NEP 2020 has, and we will be able to together collectively show the government that there are better policies, there are better ways to ensure that public education is the only way through ensuring enlightenment inside this country, to ensuring safeguarding the human resource inside this country. Public education is the only way through which we can ensure that each and every citizens inside this country are strengthened, not only through their cognitive scientific thinking, but also we need to give back to the society, we need to give back to this country. That kind of understanding can only come through public education, and we are hopeful that in the coming days we will unitedly struggle for it, achieve it, and safeguard public education to its fullest. Inqilab Zindabad.